I'm going to be ranking every AFL fan base. Pretty simple. I'm going to put them on a tier list starting from proper fans. They're the best fan base. You know, they're true, out and in, whether they win, whether they lose the team, they stay there. Quality fans speaks for itself. Then we got sort of irrelevant, but still alright. Then you got dead fans, they're just dead they're shit. And then frauds, they're fakes, they're phonies. The worst of the worst fan base. Now, there are, as you can see, heaps of double ups, but we're just going to go to the 18 clubs, starting up with the Adelaide Crows. Quality fan base. Now, from my experience, however, they are absolute frauds. I do not like South Australian fans. They're too rowdy. But in terms of backing their team, they're a good fan base. Actually, you know what? I'm going to include my personal experience with them, so we're moving them down to F. Brisbane Lions. Let's put Brisbane in kind of dead. Not many fans, not much to sing about, sort of dead fans. Carlton. Oh, spicy, very spicy. I have my fair share of experience with Carlton fans. Holy moly. As a Richmond fan myself, to give you some context, obviously one of our biggest rivals. A lot of my mates go for Carlton, and a lot of them are very obnoxious. But in terms of a fan base, they are proper fans. I'm gonna put them in quality. You can't really see them there, but they're in quality. They still back their team despite all the failure they've had for the last 20 odd years. Collingwood, this is gonna be controversial. Collingwood fans, I'm not a fan of you, but having been to, for example, the 2018 prelim when Richmond played Collingwood, their fans were just absolutely absurd. This season in 2023, I'll put the picture up here, but Collingwood have had the most average attendance, followed closely by Richmond, but they're proper fans. And I think most of the competition will agree, yes, they're fucking annoying and they need to get a lid on it, but they are good fans. Essendon, I'm putting Essendon frauds, and here is why. First of all, close mates, Essendon fans, absolutely annoying as fuck. In terms of the fans themselves, they have been through a lot of failure. They're just a very negative fan base, abusing players, coaches. For a Richmond fan, I think in 2020 or 2021, there were a couple diving sagas with Nick Voss and Dylan Grimes, and they came out that Essendon fans were death threats, all that kind of stuff. You're a shit club with shit fans, and that's why I'm putting you in frauds. I'm sorry. Fremantle, the West is always they're quality fans. The West, Western Australia, they absolutely love their football. Crazy for footy, so they're decent fans, albeit not as many as West Coast. Geelong, I've been hearing a lot of people say Geelong have the worst fan base, the most annoying, obnoxious. I mean, if you live in Geelong, you're very entitled already, so I'm gonna put you in Like, I don't have too much of an opinion on Geelong fans. They've never gotten my nerves, to be completely honest. Gold Coast are in dead. They're useless. Giants and frauds. I'm gonna say, well, Gold Coast, there just aren't that many of them. The least supported club in the AFL because they're on the Gold Coast and no one cares about footy up there, similar to Brisbane. The Giants, now in the 2019 grand final, it's the first time I felt sorry for a fan base. There was probably 2 Giant supporters out of 100,000. But no, genuinely, in the 2019 granny, I sat above, like on the second floor, above the Giants cheer squad, and it was just so sad. And for that, I'm gonna rub salt in the wound and put you in frauds. Richmond. Very controversial here. Where do I put my boys? Now, Richmond, I can't lie, before the grand final wins, we were such a good fan base. We were #1, and then after those flags, the bandwagons obviously rolled through, and that sort of ruined a little bit of our fan base. This is really hard to judge because I know what we are through and through. A very strong club, a proud club. As I said before, the second most attended crowd team in the competition this year, despite being pretty shit this year. I'm putting us in proper fans. Now, I'm gonna get absolutely abused for that. A couple years ago, 2020, we would have been in frauds, let's be real. The amount of bandwagons, that happened with Hawthorn when they did the 3-peat. The fact that our fans have gone to games, the second most out of all 18 clubs, despite their poor form. And you would know as an opposition fan, you go to a game when the Tigers are on, it gets rough with the fans. We're loud. Hawthorn, I'm gonna put Hawthorn in dead. I'm still scarred from that 3-peat. The bandwagons, just the obnoxiousness, the entitlement of a Hawthorn fan, the superiority. And for that reason, Hawthorn, you're going in dead. You annoy me. You are getting slightly better. They're traumatized from 2008 when they won the flag all the way to 2018 where they made the prelims. Just traumatized from the amount of success and the fans that brought. Now, North Melbourne, I'm putting you in frauds purely because of the viral video of the North Melbourne fans showing off their new chant.
Kanga, kanga, kanga!
Ray, ray, ray!
Kanga, kanga, kanga!
Ray, ray, ray!
Kanga!
Ray!
Kanga!
Ray! Kangaroos! Kangaroos! Kangaroos!
absolutely diabolical stuff there. I'm sorry, North Melbourne. Melbourne bandwagons galore recently. Look, Melbourne fans are pretty dead. They just have their cheese platter and their suit, their sparkling champagne, wine, whatever you want. They're the rich ones, right? And I feel like my idea of a true football fan is not that, you know, whether a person is affluent or not matters, but I feel like Melbourne fans, when they go to the footy, when they score a goal, it's just little claps, where Collingwood, Carlton and Richmond are just like full-blown football addicts. But that's the only reason I'm putting Melbourne in dead. Port Adelaide, I'm going to put them in frauds as well from my experience. Now, for a bit of context, the teams I dislike the most are Essendon, GWS and Port Adelaide, and Carlton as well. Those are the four for me. Those are the four teams I despise the most. The reason I despise Port Adelaide so much is because in, I think, was it 2015 I think it was 2015 when we played them in the elimination final up in Adelaide. Me and my family went up from Melbourne all the way up to Adelaide. We watched that game. Trent Cotchin won the toss, decided to do the dumbest thing of his whole career and choose to kick against the wind, and then we got absolutely slaughtered in the first quarter and capitulated in that final. And they were just so ruthless, those fans, and that's why they're going in frauds. Now, obviously, that's extremely biased. I probably should put them a bit higher, and for that, I'll put them in air, actually. You know what? It's South Australia, kind of like Western Australia. They're football through and through, and I think they're decent fans. In fact, you know what? I'm going to separate the two Adelaide teams. Who have better fans, Adelaide or Port Adelaide? I hate Port Adelaide, but I'll put Adelaide up there. St Kilda, I'm going to put them in quality fans. For a club that's only won one premiership and have been playing V/AFL for the most time, or like near the most, like since the 1800s, you got to have a good fan base and you got to love your club if you're going for a club who are just a complete failure. They are the Tottenham Hotspur of the AFL, but they do have good fans. Sydney, I'm putting Sydney in air. It's Sydney. They don't really care about football over there. They care about rugby, not the AFL. And for that, they're going in air. West Coast, I'm putting West Coast in frauds as well. One reason, actually, you know what? I'll put them in dead. The reason I'm going to put West Coast in dead is all because of one game against Essendon. It was Jobe Watson's return game after the whole drug saga. They played in Western Australia, Essendon versus the West Coast Eagles, and the Eagles fans booed Jobe Watson the whole time. Heaps of controversy around it. A legend of the game, Jobe Watson, he never deserved that treatment, and that's because the Eagles fans have no quality, no integrity, and they're just shitholes, really. And our last club, the Western Bulldogs, I'm putting the Bulldogs in... I think the Dogs are a quality fan base. I think similar to St Kilda, not many people hate the Dogs. They haven't had much success throughout their time, but I think they're a decent fan base. There's not much more I can say. They don't get on my nerve too much. Now, what I'm going to do is, this isn't my final tier list. I'm going to sort these out to have at least 3 in every category. So I've got to get rid of a team from quality and a team from the dead categories and put some of them or one of them in the proper fans. Now, out of all these quality teams, who are proper fans, I will put Adelaide up there. And in terms of dead fans, I will move West Coast Eagles up. I think it's a bit stiff to put them that low, albeit I gave you my reasoning. This is my bias ranking, all right? This is not meant to be a legitimate representation of fan bases. This is what I think. If you want a legitimate ranking of fan bases, here it is. Boom. This is it. I've got Collingwood, Carlton, Richmond, and the Eagles in proper fans. This is what I think the general public, AFL public, would put the fan bases, to be honest. But what are your thoughts? Do you agree or do you not? Let me know. Follow the TikTok, FTFooty. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you for another video, probably another tier list.